Biblical tradition, and yes, you heard me right, apostolic tradition, is salvific. Let's explore what that means. Welcome to Mere Catholicism. I'm Marcus Peter. So, St. Irenaeus of Lyons, in Against Heresies, he said this: what the apostles preached, they later handed on to us in the scriptures to be the foundation and pillar of our faith. Now, take a look at this. What the apostles preached, they later handed on to us in the scriptures to be the foundation and pillar of our faith. What happened from the gap of the apostles and the scriptures being composed? That is tradition. And listen, we have to be very clear here. We have to be tremendously clear here. Tradition predates the compilation of the scriptures, and even the compilation of the Old Testament canon. Now, I've done shorter videos to this effect. I'm not going to do it here. But long story short, it really is magisterial authority and biblical tradition, and, well, apostolic tradition, really, that put together the canon of the scriptures and the canon of the New Testament scriptures. And this is so crucial for us to remember. So in De Verbum 7, we see that the Second Vatican Council reminds us, in order to keep the gospel forever whole and alive within the church, the apostles left who? Each person to interpret the scriptures? No, bishops as their successors, handing over to them their own position of teaching authority. St. Basil the Great, he wrote in On the Holy Spirit, of the dogmas and proclamations preserved in the church, some we possess from written teaching, others we have received by what? Apostolic tradition, both having the same force. And so what is apostolic tradition? It is the teaching authority of bishops in communion with the Pope in Rome. And this has always been the case throughout the history of Christianity. So much so that if you look at what Paul writes in 2 Thessalonians 2:15, he says, so then, brethren, stand firm, hold to the traditions which you were taught by us, either by word or by mouth or by letter. Yes, hold to the traditions. He didn't say hold to just the Bible, because the Bible wasn't even compiled at that point. Paul would go on in 1 Timothy 3:15 to say, if I am delayed, you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the bulwark of truth. It is not the Bible that is the pillar and the bulwark of truth. It is the church of the living God. And before you say, well, each of us are churches unto ourselves, you don't find that anywhere in the Bible. You see one central magisterial authority in Peter with primacy, the bishops in communion with Peter, and by virtue of that, trickling down all the way to the priests, the elders, the presbyteros, in communion with him. Tradition is salvific because Christ handed down that same authority of tradition to Peter and the apostles, who handed down to the very end to this day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marcus Peter.